Welcome back, Nation of Glory, the home where legends breathe, where stories rise like fire, and where every journey is told with heart, soul, and the pulse of destiny. Today, prepare yourselves for the cinematic, emotional, and powerful story of a man who came from the mountains and passion-filled streets of Italy, who traveled across the world with nothing but a dream in his heart, and who rose to become one of the most technically gifted and respected performers in WWE. A man who fought through rejection, sacrifice, and identity, and became known to millions as Giovanni Vinci, a name that echoed class, precision, and dominance. This is the unforgettable rise of Fabian Aichner. So sit back, relax, and let the story carry you like a movie unfolding in your mind. A true transformation story, a journey of fire, discipline, betrayal, redemption, brotherhood, and glory. Fabian Aichner's story doesn't begin under the bright lights of America. It doesn't begin with applause or cameras. It begins in the rolling beauty of northern Italy, in landscapes surrounded by mountains and tradition, where honor means everything, where family roots run deep, and where dreams are often expected to stay small. But some souls are too big for their surroundings. And young Fabian was one of them. As a child, he didn't just love wrestling, he felt it. He felt the electricity of the ring, the drama, the athleticism, the heroism. He watched matches not just as a fan but as a student. He studied the footwork, the storytelling, the conditioning. He admired those who turned pain into art, who stood alone between the ropes and turned it into a battlefield of heart versus will. He wasn't born into a wrestling family. He wasn't surrounded by trainers or big opportunities. He had to search for them, chase them, earn them. Wrestling gyms were far, expensive, and often unwelcoming to a quiet, stubborn kid with a spark in his eyes. But Fabian had something rare. He had the willingness to be uncomfortable, to be the outsider, to fight for his place. He trained in whatever spaces he could find. Old school gyms, concrete floored basements, small local wrestling halls. He worked jobs to support his training, balancing exhaustion with ambition. While others partied, he lifted weights. While others slept, he practiced drills. While others asked, why put yourself through this? He asked himself, how far can I go? He wasn't the biggest at first. He wasn't the most explosive. But what he had was far more valuable, absolute discipline. And discipline is the secret ingredient behind greatness. But dreams demand sacrifice. Fabian faced countless moments where giving up would have been easy. Injuries that sent him home limping. Coaches who told him he wasn't TV material. Promoters who said Europe was where his journey would end. Nights where the weight of failure pressed against his chest. Nights where silence felt louder than applause. But each setback became fuel. Every bruise, every doubt, every closed door lit a fire in him. He didn't want fame. He wanted mastery. He didn't want attention. He wanted excellence. And in wrestling, excellence has a way of showing itself. Soon, he began turning heads across Europe. Fans saw something unique. Power, speed, technique, all wrapped into a man who carried himself like a warrior sculpted from stone. His athleticism made jaws drop. His intensity made crowds rise. And then, something miraculous happened. WWE called. It was the kind of moment that freezes time. A simple email, a simple message, but to Fabian, it felt like destiny knocking. The dream that felt oceans away was suddenly within reach. He signed with WWE in 2017, bringing with him not just talent, but everything he had fought for. But arriving in WWE is not the finish line, it's the beginning of the hardest chapter. No one cared where he came from. No one cared about European buzz. The performance center is where dreams either grow wings or break apart. Fabian faced the hardest training of his life. Grueling conditioning, endless drills, pressure like a mountain pushing against his chest. He struggled at first. The coaches demanded more, the system demanded adaptation. Some doubted him. Some said he wasn't connecting. Some thought he would fade out quietly. But Fabian didn't break. He evolved. He honed his identity. He sharpened his style. He blended his European discipline with American intensity. He showcased unbelievable strength, lifting opponents with ease, flying through the air like a heavyweight doing cruiserweight magic. Slowly, steadily, the locker room realized something. This man wasn't here to fill space. He was here to redefine excellence. And then came the chapter that would change his life, Imperium. Imperium wasn't just a faction. It was a movement, a philosophy, a mission built on respect for the ring, discipline, purity of wrestling, and the belief that the mat is sacred. Walter, now known as Gunther, stood as the general. Ludwig Kaiser, elegant and articulate, stood as the messenger. And Fabian Aichner stood as the backbone, the powerhouse, the silent storm, the executioner of perfection. Together, they were unstoppable. Imperium became feared, respected, admired. Every time they walked into a room, intensity followed. Every time they stepped into the ring, opponents felt the weight of their presence. Fabian, once underestimated, now stood beside giants and held his ground with unmatched pride. And then, the moment that echoed across NXT history. Fabian Aichner and Ludwig Kaiser won the NXT Tag Team Championships twice. Their chemistry was unmatched. Fabian provided the power and explosiveness. Ludwig brought elegance and strategy. Together, they were a masterpiece of teamwork. Their matches were clinics, technical precision, ruthless aggression, flawless timing. Fabian had gone from overlooked talent to champion to cornerstone of one of the most respected factions in modern wrestling. But the journey was far from over. In WWE, evolution is constant, and every phoenix rises by burning. And Fabian's transformation came in a way no one expected. He became Giovanni Vinci. A new identity, a new presentation, a new chapter. Some feared the change. Some wondered if it would disconnect him from Imperium. But Fabian embraced it like an artist reveals a new masterpiece. Giovanni Vinci wasn't just a new name, it was an evolution of character. He arrived with style, confidence, precision. He carved an identity built on class and danger. His vignettes were cinematic, his presence magnetic. He wrestled not like a man reinvented, but like a man unleashed. But behind the scenes, behind the performances, behind the spotlight, was a human being fighting to balance expectations with authenticity. The pressure to deliver, the pressure to evolve, the pressure to represent his country, his fans, his faction, and himself. There were nights he questioned everything. Nights where criticism cut deeper than punches. Nights where the wrestling world demanded more than one man could give. But Fabian, true to his journey, didn't shatter. He rebuilt himself over and over. He learned that identity isn't something you discover once, it's something you shape endlessly. Giovanni Vinci became not just a wrestler, but a beacon of determination. The character looked polished, confident, almost impossibly perfect, but behind that image stood years of struggle, sacrifice, and heartache that made it real. And the wrestling world felt it. Fans connected to him not because he won every match, but because they saw a man who refused to stop improving. They saw a man who respected the craft. A man who represented every dreamer from a small town who dared to reach the global stage. And then, destiny brought him full circle. Imperium reunited. Giovanni Vinci stood once again beside Ludwig Kaiser and the dominating force that is Gunther. But this reunion was different. Fabian wasn't the same man he had been. He was stronger, wiser, more experienced. He returned not as a follower, but as a pillar. Imperium became more dangerous than ever. Every time the three stood together, the air tightened. Every entrance felt like a declaration. Every match felt like a message. And Vinci brought a sophisticated, deadly presence that elevated the entire faction. His journey represented the truth behind Imperium's philosophy: discipline above chaos, excellence above ego, honor above everything. But what makes Fabian's story truly Hollywood is not just the championships, the factions, or the reinventions. It's the emotional core, the story of a young Italian boy who dreamed beyond borders, who fought through doubt, who embraced evolution, and who refused to let the world define his ceiling. He taught fans that strength isn't about size, it's about heart. He taught wrestlers that identity can evolve without losing authenticity. He taught the world that talent blossoms only when watered with sacrifice. His story is still being written. His chapters are far from over. And every time he steps into the ring, whether as Fabian Aichner or Giovanni Vinci, he carries the pride of Italy, the respect of fans, and the fire of a man who refuses to let destiny be anything less than extraordinary. Imagine now the final cinematic frame of this journey. Giovanni Vinci sits in a quiet locker room. His boots are beside him. His gear is folded neatly. He wraps his wrists slowly, breathing in with calm intensity. He looks into the mirror, not cracked like Marcel's, but polished, glowing. And he sees not a conflicted man, but a complete one. He sees Fabian Aichner, the boy who chased the dream. He sees Giovanni Vinci, the man who mastered it. He stands, rolls his shoulders back, and heads toward the curtain where the roar of the crowd waits like a storm. He closes his eyes for one final breath, not of doubt, but of purpose. And then he steps forward, ready to write the next piece of history. And that, Nation of Glory, is the powerful, emotional, Hollywood-style story of Fabian Aichner, Giovanni Vinci, the Italian powerhouse who carved his name into the world of wrestling through heart, discipline, brotherhood, evolution, and absolute devotion to his craft. Thank you for staying with us through this unforgettable journey. If this story touched you, inspired you, or entertained you, don't forget to like the video, share it with fellow wrestling fans, and subscribe to Nation of Glory for more epic storytelling, more wrestler journeys, and more cinematic experiences that ignite your passion. Thank you, stay glorious, and we'll see you in the next video.